44 degrees. I'm Naomi Miller. I have some special guests in the studio with me this morning. I have two people from State of the Heart Hospice. One is Marlene Black. She's the bereavement specialist, and Larry Kinnear is here as well. He's the coordinator for promotion and development at State of the Heart. Good morning. Thanks for coming in.
Good morning, Amy.
All right. Appreciate it. Okay, so we have a lot to discuss, and we have an hour to do it. And I know it's not something that a lot of people like to talk about unless you have to, but it's good to be prepared to deal with your children when there's a death in the family, and that's what I wanted to talk about this morning. You guys are sponsors of ours here at the radio station. We appreciate your support, and so I know that this is something I've wanted to do for a while, and I've heard your commercials about you can't bearable and some of the things that you offer, and so I thought it would be good to have you in here and be able to discuss some of those.
Well, it's good to be here, Naomi, and one of the things that probably a lot of people may not know is that we've been around actually for nearly 30 years, and we provide care to patients and families in eastern Indiana and western Ohio. And bereavement support is really an important part of hospice services. And Marlene has done this for a number of years. And we provide bereavement support to both adults and to children. And we do a lot of outreach. And you mentioned Camp Bearable as well. But at any rate, we want to reach out more to those who need our care and our services. We, in addition to Camp Bearable, we do a lot of outreach into the schools. Mm-hmm. We also provide some books to schools that helps a lot of the school officials and the administrators to talk with children about death and dying and grief. So we do a lot of outreach and grief support.
Okay, Marlene, explain what hospice is and why bereavement services are an important part of what you do for those who need grief support.
Okay, hospice is an agency. We're an agency, a nonprofit agency that takes care of terminally ill patients. And our bereavement care we feel is very important because actually bereavement care starts at the time we admit a patient. You would think it started as a death, but it's at the admission process, because usually when a family's given a terminal diagnosis for their loved one, they start grieving at that point already.
Right.
We call it anticipatory grieving. You know, they think about all the things they're going to miss with that loved one,
right,
what they're going to do without that loved one, all those things.
Okay, and so what hospice offers is important because you help people through that process from the time the patient is admitted. And then what do you do after the death, or do you still stay involved with the family?
Absolutely. We check in and visit each family after the death to see how they're coping, to explain what bereavement services we have available for them, and try to help them as much as we can through that grief period. Okay,
and how much is it for people who want grief support for their family?
We offer all of our grief support services free to the patients and families. We don't charge for any of them.
Okay, awesome. That is great. We appreciate having you out here. Larry, I know you mentioned you're in eastern Indiana and western Ohio. Where are your branches?
Actually, we have three offices. We have one in Coldwater, Ohio. We have one in Portland, Indiana, and we have one in Greenville. And we've served the counties of Indiana for a number of years, and we're actually serving more counties in Indiana than we used to. But you know, Marlene had mentioned something earlier, and we talked about all the services that we provide in grief support. It is important to know that all of our services in grief support are indeed free, which includes Camp Bearable. We do the camp. We seek some funding support for the camp. Mm-hmm. There's no charge at all to the children or to the family. And the other interesting thing about bereavement support is that anybody in the community can access this service. You need not have an association with hospice. And as a matter of fact, most of the children who go to our Camp Bearable have no association or affiliation whatsoever with hospice care. So I think we're becoming known and have become known for the community resource when there is grief and loss and people are dealing with this, that they turn to us to help out, and we're glad to be that community resource.
And we will be talking about some of the resources that you offer throughout the hour. I have Larry Kinnear and Marlene Black in the studio with me this morning from State of the Heart Hospice, and we will continue this conversation throughout this hour. If you happen to be going through a situation of grief and you would like to talk to Larry and Marlene off the air, you can feel free anytime during this hour to give me a call at 877-335-4JOY. Here's music from Mercy Me. It's All of Creation on Joy FM. Joy FM, music from Mercy Me. That's their latest, All of Creation. It is 7:10. I'm Naomi Miller. In the studio with me, I have not one, but two special guests, Marlene Black and Larry Kinnear from State of the Heart Hospice. Marlene is the bereavement specialist, and Larry is a coordinator for promotion and development at State of the Heart. And this morning we're talking about some of the things that they offer to listeners all over the Joy FM listening area. By the way, if you're interested, they also have a website and contact information. Marlene, could you go ahead and go over that for me, please?
Our website is www.stateoftheheartcare.org.
Okay.
We have all of our services listed on there.
Okay. What's a phone number if anyone's interested?
I can give you our 800 number. It's
Okay.
1-800-417-7535. Or locally, it's 548-2999.
That's locally in Greenville.
Yes.
Okay. Larry, can you tell us about Camp Bearable? I know you mentioned that a little bit ago. Can you tell us what that's all about?
Yes, I'll give a little bit of an intro, and Marlene is the person who's been doing this for a number of years. She's the camp director, but this is an outreach that we started. This is actually the 10th year for Camp Bearable, and probably the last couple of years we've had about 50 youth attending, and this is from our entire service area. We have children ranging from age 6 to 15. We have camp buddies for these youngsters. They are specially trained. They are actually go through a process before they become a buddy. And it's a good weekend of mixing fun and serious dialogue with the kids. And since Marlene has been the one who's actually been the person who's done this, and she can speak more to what happens at Camp Bearable.
Okay.
Okay, like Larry said, it's the 10th year for camp. The first year we started, we only had 14 kids attend. And the last couple of years, like Larry said, we had 50.
Wow.
And sometimes we have to turn them away because we just can only handle so many. And like he said, it's at the Spiritual Center at Maria Stein. It's a beautiful setting, private, pretty private, back off the road for the kids to just run and do what they want over the weekend. But I think the best thing that kids learn from being there is that there are other kids that have the same thoughts and feelings that they do about death. And then that makes them feel more normal.
Right.
Most of the kids that come to camp have lost a parent, and some of them have lost both parents that come.
Oh, wow.
And we do a lot of things with the kids. It's not all on grief. They have some fun activities, too, during the weekend, but they come on Friday afternoon, and they're there till Sunday afternoon. And we do things like we have campfires in the evening for the kids to sit around and sing. We make memory boxes for the kids to take home. There's just a lot of activities, and then we end up with, on Sunday morning, we have a balloon launch. The kids can write a note to their deceased loved one, and then we release those balloons, and it's probably the most emotional part of the whole weekend.
I'll bet. Can you tell me some of the success stories from Camp Bearable?
The one that I always like to tell is we had a 10-year-old boy attend a couple years ago who had lost his father very suddenly and unexpectedly. And on Saturday evening around the campfire, we asked the kids what they had learned so far from camp. And this little boy immediately popped up and said, "I learned that God did not take my dad, God received him." And we thought that was quite, he really was inspiring for us adults, because a lot of times when we work with kids, or even grieving people, we don't know exactly how much help we're giving. It's just something you can't measure.
Right.
But that sure told us that we had influenced his life.
Larry, do you guys handle these issues from a Christian perspective, or what is the standpoint with your grieving support?
I think there's always that as the very foundation and benefit. Of course, hospice is non-denominational. We're not affiliated with any particular religion. We have chaplains, but the chaplains are there if a patient family wants a chaplain, or maybe they want to reconnect with their minister. And that's certainly something that we can do. So that's always an individual basis that one can do that. But one thing that Marlene, she was talking about the children, and sometimes what I will do after we have Camp Bearable is I'll talk with some of the children, and the thing that I hear from them, and also on some of the evaluations that we have, is that, and I think it's true most, if you probably talk to 5 kids, they would say the same thing. They really feel safe being at Camp Bearable because they're with others, and they feel that this is a safe environment.